Hello, fantasy sport fans. We are going to talk about the New York Giants today. Seth is actually going to talk about the New York Giants. Yeah, I'm going to talk about
them. The New York Giants. Are they really new, though?
No, not really.
No, not at all?
In that terrible color gray that they use, that their uniform, that's terrible, man.
Is that terrible?
Yeah, it's awful.
Yeah?
Yeah, very bland. They don't really have good colors.
All right, well...
The red and the blue's all right.
Check this out, Big Blue Nation. I've been sitting here trying to diagnose...
That's why they're called Big Blue instead of Big Gray.
Yeah, probably.
Or Big Silver.
Like, why would they be proud of the gray? I don't know. Giant
what about
fans,
Big Apple?
Giant fans, why don't you email us, Twitter us, Facebook us?
What color would go better
Send us a message. Why do you think the New York Giants pick the colors that they did? Were they trying to be patriotic? For that, they might as well have taken the name the Patriots. Obviously, that didn't happen.
At least use silver, not gray. Like
right?
Yeah, it's terrible.
The red, white, and gray.
Yeah, there you go. That's awesome.
Okay, Big Blue. Check this out. Let's go with your quarterback, Eli
Manning.
Okay.
I had him on my team last year, and he was a very disappointing quarterback to have.
Fantasy-wise, right?
Very disappointing fantasy-wise.
Well, you know what? Let's try and diagnose this. Well, what's up? Okay, here we go. So, he played all 16 games. His completion percentage was 59.9. Ouch.
Not very good.
To me, a good completion rate, like percentage, would be somewhere between 65 and 70. Obviously, anything better is great, but that's really not very consistent throughout the entire
Did you
league.
know that Alex Smith has, just to throw it out there,
yeah.
Alex Smith had the highest completion percentage last year?
What was that?
70.
Yeah, see? That's what I'm saying. I mean, 59.9, that's mediocre at best. I mean... I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not an NFL player.
Well, just so you know,
I'm not a scout.
Michael, if you listen to the
Just
Eagles divisional roundup,
yeah.
Michael Vick's is like a 58. So it's like, 1% better than Michael Vick's last year.
Well, I tell you what, Eli threw for 3,948 yards. The guy threw for 26 touchdowns. Here's one thing that gets me. He fumbled 5 times. The only thing is, he only lost 1 of them. So I kind of don't like that because he fumbles. But I always look at it and he's always fumbling right when that arm is right up there. And sometimes he'll get away with it.
They come back from behind.
Yeah,
it's that whole no ball rule.
Yeah, exactly. So he only had 15 interceptions. So he was averaging less than 1 interception a game.
Only 15 interceptions?
Well, you know what? Eli, he doesn't make the best choices sometimes. I mean, it's a hell of a lot better than when he threw the 20-some-odd interceptions.
Yeah, but you're averaging 1 a game, man.
Yeah, that's not good, but at the same time, you know what? Quarterbacks throw picks. It's going to happen. 15, it's not outrageous, but it's not good either. So keep an eye on that. But Eli, in other words, I'm going to say... he was a bust last year. He was amazing the year before. Eli, I think he's coming off that whole is Eli elite season. I think he's finally coming off all that huge cloud and all that stuff. So I think this year Eli might be a decent option. What do you think?
I mean, I think that he could be a usable quarterback. And you're going to get Eli in the late rounds. You are. You're going to get him in the 9th, 10th, 11th round. That's where a lot of the quarterbacks are going now. All those mid-tier guys are going late in drafts because there's so many quarterbacks that you can take right now.
Yeah, me and Corey, we've been looking at drafts. We've done a couple, just to play around with them, just kind of see what people do, what they're doing.
Early.
And yeah, just have fun with it. You can go to NFL.com and do that whenever you want. You can go to Yahoo, whatever, but quarterbacks are not, unless they're like Breeze or Rodgers or Brady, they're not going very early at all.
Yeah, and I've even seen Breeze going in the mid-second, almost third round in drafts,
Yeah.
I mean, Colin Kaepernick, RG3, Romo, all those guys are going in the 7th, 8th round.
Yep. You can get a legit quarterback like we've been saying the whole time. If you go back to our quarterbacks podcast, you can look at it. We're saying there's so many quarterbacks available, you won't need to take one very early. And that's playing true to everything we've been saying.
Yep.
So, okay, moving on. So you had Eli right there.
And he's a usable fantasy quarterback. You can get in late rounds.
I think he'll be better this year. I think he'll actually be a steal.
I wouldn't be scared to have him on my team again.
I think
there's just more players I'd rather have.
Exactly. But I think he'll be a steal when you look at where you're going to get him in the draft.
Right.
And I think that's where you're going to be very happy, is because you're going to get him somewhere between 7 and 12, and you're going to be incredibly stoked because this guy's going to give you at least 20 points a week. You know, definitely, I think. I think he's going to have a couple weeks where he'll put up like 15, 18 points, but I think he's over 20 almost every other week, except for those two.
Yeah, depending if you're doing 4 points for a touchdown or 6 points for a touchdown.
Exactly. But moving on, you have running backs. And two of them, really, for the Giants. You have David Wilson, who it looks like is definitely going to be the starter.
That's what they're saying.
You know, his rookie year, David Wilson did 358 yards. His long was 52. He had 4 rushing touchdowns. He even did, let's see here. He had 34 receiving yards and 1 touchdown there.
He's just an explosive running back, man. And whenever they did give him a chance, he was pretty good.
Well, check this out. Tom Coughlin rarely ever throws rookies in there, especially like running back or
because he fumbled the very first game.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Yeah.
He rarely ever does it. And Coughlin actually trusted Wilson game 1, and he fumbled and lost it that one time. And then he got benched. He was in the doghouse for weeks. Coughlin finally trusted him again and started slowly integrating him because he missed quite a few weeks after that fumble.
Right.
It was on the headlines, Wilson in the doghouse with Coughlin. So he finally started trusting him. And towards the end, Bradshaw, well, not, I would say towards the end, but towards the middle part where Bradshaw was out, you had Andre Brown, who was coming in, who was tearing it up.
Andre
but then
Brown was doing really good.
He did, but then he got injured for the season. So Wilson finally got his time. And in that time, that's really where he racked up those yards.
Right.
So Wilson being the number 1 back this year, I'm drafting this guy. For sure.
Me too.
Yeah,
I'll take him as a number 2 or utility running back. In the draft that we did earlier, in one of them, I took him as my utility running back.
Yeah,
I think he'll be good.
And that's a great move.
Yeah.
I think that's a legit move.
Yeah, and you can, people aren't drafting him that early, man. I mean, you can get him in the, mid-rounds. I mean, he's not going, first 3 or 4, but you can get him after that, maybe 5, 6.
And that's where people are sleeping on him, too.
Yeah, for the production that he could possibly put up, if you're going to spend a 5th or 6th round flyer on him, why not?
I mean, fans, listen
maybe
to this.
Maybe even later than that. I don't know.
Bradshaw's gone. Obviously, Jacobs is history.
Yeah.
You have Andre Brown, and you have David Wilson.
Andre Brown's just going to steal a lot of David Wilson's carries, and maybe even the goal line ones. But I think that David Wilson's good enough to break those 20-yard rushes, for touchdowns.
I think Wilson's going to be an every down back. I really do believe that. But I agree with you. I think Brown is going to cut into that a little bit. But then again, Brown has to stay healthy.
Yeah.
They both do. So here you look, as we're looking at Andre Brown, and he played in 10 games, but he started 2, and this is where he really racked up most of his yards. But he had 385 yards rushing, 8 touchdowns. You heard that, right? 8 touchdowns.
Yeah, he had 2 touchdowns a game for a little while.
Yeah, so he even received for 86 yards, no touchdowns there, didn't fumble once. So the guy is definitely protecting the ball. But this year, like I said, Wilson number 1, Brown is definitely number 2. I think this could be a really good double-headed monster. Yeah,
and Brown, I don't know if you're really even going to draft Brown. He's going undrafted in most leagues that I've seen lately. And he may be a guy that you're going to pick up, in free agency and off the waiver in case something does happen to David Wilson,
Yeah.
But he's not a guy that you really want to handcuff to David Wilson because David Wilson isn't one of those high draft picks that you really need to do that. You should have at least one other running back before you have David Wilson.
Of course.
So,
okay, so we're getting to the wide receivers.
Yep.
Victor Cruz signed his tender. So Victor Cruz is definitely back this year. And I can't imagine he's not going to play his heart out because he wants the contract. He knew he was asking for a lot of money. He wants to prove everything, every single bit of himself.
He was what, $11 million a year?
Yeah, he wants to make sure that he makes it aware, that he's worth that and blah, blah, blah.
I don't know if you know this,
he's
but
gonna do great.
From what I hear, they're going to be signing a contract and giving him a new contract by the end of training camp.
We'll see if it happens.
We'll see. But that's where all signs have led so far.
Okay, well, if it happens, more power to him. If it doesn't, Jerry Reese, you got a problem, dude.
Meet in the middle. Give him. I think the Giants were wanting to give him $8 million.
Originally it was $7 million. They wanted to offer him $7
million.
Yeah, and then he
give
wanted
the guy
$11
million. $9 million a year. You can't give him any more than that. You still have Hakeem Nicks that you have to look for,
and that's where I was about to lead to. But before I get there, Victor Cruz, 1,092 yards. To me, I'm loving that. I'm loving that number right there. Let's see, where are we at? We got 10 touchdowns. His long was 80 yards. He played in every single game.
Yep.
The luckiest wide receiver stayed healthy.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm calling him, the luckiest wide receiver. But Victor Cruz, healthy wide receiver. Of course, he may get injured game one. You never know, but I'm definitely drafting this guy.
Yeah.
Okay. Hakeem Nicks, however.
I wouldn't mind having him on my team.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind either.
I wouldn't complain about it.
Hakeem Nicks, on the other hand, he was a little bit of a question mark last year because the guy did horrible.
I don't think he played one game healthy.
Well, let's see here. He played in 13 games. Yep. 11 of them he started. Here's where it kills me right here. 692 yards, 3 touchdowns. And just so you know, Victor Cruz, he had 86 recorded catches. Hakeem Nicks had 53. So if you're in a PPR league, Victor Cruz, definitely a good option.
Yep.
But let's see what we got here. Ramses Barden and Ruben Randall, they're kind of notables for me. Ruben Randall's going to be in his second year. He'll do better. They'll integrate him a lot more. Coughlin will trust a second-year player definitely more than a first year. So, but Ramses Barden, I don't know what they're going to do with this guy. They drafted him in the second round about 3 or 4 years ago. He's supposed to be doing good. He did good last year when they did play him. I just don't know what they're going to do with that number 3 spot.
Yeah, I'm just going to, Victor Cruz and Hakeem Nicks. I'll still take it. You wouldn't want Hakeem Nicks on your fantasy team? I'll take Hakeem Nicks.
Take him.
Huh?
Take him. Even though, you know what?
You're going to get him late in the draft.
I'll say this. He's in his contract year.
Yeah.
Hakeem Nicks is going to force himself to be healthy and quit complaining about whatever it is that's going on in his body. And
2
he's
years ago,
figure
this
out
guy
what
was a monster, man.
Yeah.
And he's only been in the league for, 4 years, something like that. He hasn't been in the league for very long. He's still a young receiver. He's still working on his body and getting it all straightened up and getting into football shape and everything, And if I can get him as a third receiver, Hakeem Nicks, who has number 1 receiver capabilities, then I might take a flyer on him.
If he's available in round 10, I'll take him.
Yeah.
Anything prior, I can get better players. Better players that I know are more consistent, and I know for a fact will stay healthy based on previous years.
I'd say about round 8. Round 8 is where I'd probably take the guy.
Yeah, 10 for me, man. 10 for me.
What else we got?
Tight end, man. They picked up a great tight end in free agency, Brandon Myers.
Good, man.
And Eli, the elite Eli, loves tight ends.
He does love tight ends.
Kind of sounded weird, but he had 806 yards.
Aaron Hernandez better love. Wait.
Whoa. Tight end what? Okay, so Brandon Myers recorded 79. He played in all 16. Mm-hmm. He started in all 16 in Oakland, who, by the way, didn't really... Carson Palmer in Oakland wasn't really that good. He was average. 806 yards. 806 yards with 4 touchdowns. He's coming to New York, who's tight end friendly. This is going to be a great fit.
Look at what Marty B did last year. Marty B is not a very good tight end. And he still had a decent year,
Yeah.
And now Marty B's going to Chicago, and
I don't know how that's going to work
him
out.
and Jay Cutler, that might be good. I don't know, man.
I don't know. We'll talk about it when we cover the NFC North. But for what I'm saying now, Brandon Myers, I'm definitely drafting him as my starting tight end.
Yeah, and you can get him late. I think he's ranked
people are sleeping on him.
Yeah, he's ranked like the 8th or 9th best tight end, something like that. Maybe even lower than that.
Yeah, and people are completely sleeping on Brandon Myers.
Yeah.
I even found in a draft, I think it was round 13 or 14, Brandon Myers was still there, and I was like, are you kidding me? What?
Yeah. I mean, I could see him having, 800 yards again and 7 or 8 touchdowns. And if I can get that kind of production out of a tight end that I got in the 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th round, I'll take that.
Yeah, and I could definitely see 7, 8 touchdowns for sure.
Yeah.
That's easy.
Yeah.
All right, so kicker is Josh Brown. They got this guy in free agency.
Mm-hmm.
Something concerns me about this guy, though.
Yeah.
And it's based on last year. He only played in 4 games. That's it. 4 games based on the previous year where he played in 16. So, 4 games, I mean,
I know Lawrence Tynes was one of the best kickers last year in fantasy football.
I know, and I don't know what happened there.
I don't either.
But the guy, from the 4 games he did play, he was almost 100% across the board. It wasn't until you got to, let's see here, PATs. Point after touchdowns. You realize he was only 1 for 2?
1 for 2?
Which is weird. How do you miss a PAT?
That second one must have been whenever he got hurt or something, man. I don't know.
I don't know, man. But what I do know is he was 100% for the rest of it, and he was 91% for 20 to 29 yards. Other than that, the guy was legit last year, and the previous year, he wasn't so bad either. So, I mean, Josh Brown, you know what, in the last round, yeah, I wouldn't mind him. Giants kick a lot of field goals. Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
Why not?
Okay. So, defense, we're moving on, and we're getting to, let's see here. Oh, can we say Justin Tuck?
Who?
Cullen Jenkins, who they got from Philadelphia. And how about JPP, Jason Pierre-Paul? Yo, this front line's, it looks like it's coming back. Even
Everybody
though they
thought it
lost
was
OC,
coming back last year, too, and that didn't work out too well.
But here's the Giants' problem, man. It's not their D-line. It's their secondary. The D-line can only put so much pressure. It's the secondary. The secondary's awful.
Yeah, it was garbage.
I mean, you're dealing with Prince Amukamara, who finally got healthy. And then you got Antrell Roll, who's not horrible. Stevie Brown, who wasn't bad. Corey
Brown
Webster, who's getting
had a
old.
Really good year, man.
No, he had a really good year. But Corey Webster, who, yeah, he's getting old, though. And then you're bringing in people like Keith Rivers, who actually didn't do so bad, but, looking for improvement there. And then Dan Connor from Dallas they picked up, and Haquin Williams, who they have. But I'm just saying, the secondary, Antrell Roll's only getting older.
Yeah.
Prince, he has not lived up to his contract year yet. He hasn't lived up to the hype.
He's always hurt. Always.
Exactly. Stevie Brown, they brought in after so many weeks of the season. I mean, guys.
Look at what he did, though, man. That guy was ridiculous.
Terrell Thomas, the guy's coming back. Hopefully he doesn't tear his ACL for a 3rd straight year.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
We'll see. Will Hill, Jaron Hosley. I mean, And they got Aaron Ross back from Jacksonville, who the previous year from Jacksonville was with New York Giants and was a bust. So I'm just saying, I don't know what to make of the Giants defense. Giants live off of defense. I can't imagine it's going to be extremely terrible. But am I drafting them? Yeah, probably.
Maybe. Probably. They're not going to go off the board quick. If you're waiting till the last to second to last, pick or the draft pick or whatever, you're going to pick the Giants or somebody around there. Yeah. But you're not going to be picking them, in the mid rounds.
And when you're drafting your teams, remember, defense. Who's in their division? Remember, they got to play those teams twice a year. The New York Giants, they got to face Dallas, who's about to be very hungry on the offensive side of the ball. And they're going to tear it up. Philly, guess what? They always perform great against New York. And then you got Washington. Are you kidding me right now? Dude, I'm telling you, New York Giants defense, 50-50.
50-50?
50-50.
Well, there's Big Blue. New York Giants.
Boom.
Boom.
Hey, Fantasy Sport Fan Nation. be sure to check out our free exclusive daily fantasy sports sites review. Get this free 29-page report reviewing the top 11 daily fantasy sports sites only at fantasysportfans.com.